Welcome to the Sunday Feast program from ISKCON Naperville. So as Panduranga Gopal Prabhu said, I'm going to attempt to speak on the topic of COVID and karma. So let me begin with my prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshe Tarine. Hare Krishna. So let me begin. I will be doing a presentation, so I will be on and off. I will do some, I will share my screen. I have a few slides, and in between I'll be speaking also.
You can share your screen, Prabhu.
Yes, I'm trying. Okay, I hope you are able to see my screen. So we'll begin. As I mentioned, the topic is COVID and karma. So we will begin with discussing a little about the background. So we are in this situation. We are in this pandemic, and it's been a few months now. We have experienced quite a lot of things. We have gone through lockdowns. We have quarantined ourselves. We have got so many instructions. We have seen so many cases rise, and as a result of this virus, we have seen a lot of people die also. So let's try to see, and the topic for today's evening is to understand what can we learn from this, how can we analyze, learn, and what can we apply to our lives. So these are some of the things that we will look at. What are the causes? What does the law of karma say? And what should practically, what should we be doing? What is practical for us to do? So I'll begin with the first point. What's the cause? And I'm trying to do this Zoom. Okay, I'll try to figure out. I'm trying to switch between like sharing and not sharing, and I don't see the buttons anymore.
Don't worry about it, Prabhu. Just share your screen and you keep talking. I can focus it.
All right. Okay. I think I got it. Okay. So the like sorry for the interruption, but like I mentioned, I'll talk on the first. We'll talk on the cause. What's the cause? So it is human nature to always try to find the cause for everything. I mean, it's quite natural for all of us. We can see that we try to find a cause for everything that happens, uh, regardless of whether it's good or bad. In particular, if it is like something miserable or there's something bad that's happening to us. So for example, in this case, we can see that if a person has got infected, we try to find out, like if the person had been out of the country, or like how did he get infected? Did he contact someone who was infected? So basically there's this propensity to understand and find out the root cause. I mean, what caused it? And there are other things also that we try to find out, like what is the origin of this virus? Why did it come up in the first place? So we can see that it's very hard for us not to do a cause and effect analysis. And some of these causes, or some of these activities, or some of this cause and effect analysis that I just mentioned, like trying to find out how did the person get infected, who he came in contact with, and also we try to find out while he was infected and before it was detected, who are the persons he came in contact with, so that we can go and inform them, or warn them at least. So these are some of the immediate causes that we are trying to understand. Next, our mind or our attention goes to, like, what is the some of the distant causes. And what I mean by distant is um, like, for example, what did we do something that caused this virus? Are we to take any kind of a responsibility? Um, could we have done something different? Did we exploit our nature too much? I mean, when I say exploit nature too much, think about, for example, a classic example is oil. So we are an industry dependent on oil. Everything runs on oil. The transportation runs on oil. Our electricity and power runs on oil, and so many other things. So have we been like utilizing oil and uh, getting too much, or exploiting too much, the nature too much? And these are some of the questions that come. And another thing that comes to my mind is the culture of use and throw. It's a big thing today. Today we just use something or buy something, and when we don't have a need for it, we just simply throw it. Even expensive things like television or refrigerator and things like that. Uh, I mean, it's more expensive to repair in some cases than replace it. So that's the um, era that we are living in. It's a era of like instant sense gratification. We want everything now and quick and like immediate. And next, we again, so some of us who are like God conscious, we kind of tend to think, or tend to try to understand, like, is God in somehow related with this, everything that is happening? Is God somehow, does he have a role to play in this? Or some people may think, like, is God angry with us? But we know that from Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that there is a verse in Bhagavad Gita, verse number 13. point 21, and I'll quickly share that verse here for all of us to look at. So this verse says, Karya Karana Kartritve Hetur Prakritir Uchyate Purusha Sukha Dukkhanam Bhoktritve Hetur Uchyate. And the translation is, nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. So it's very clear from this that it is um, yes. So nature is executing. It is kind of impacting or doing what we see today. But the ultimate cause is are us, the living entities ourselves. And looking further at the purport in this verse, I'm highlighting it. The senses are instruments for gratifying desire. Now, the sum total, body and the instrument senses, is offered by material nature, and as will be clear in the next verse, the living entity is blessed or damned with circumstances according to his past desire and activity. According to one's desire and activities, material nature places one in various residential quarters. The being himself is the cause of his attaining such residential quarters and his attendant enjoyment or suffering. So we can see that the laws of karma, they are very subtle. In one sense, they are extremely subtle. When we say subtle, it's something that is working in the background, yet we are not able to completely understand or see them. And from this verse, we can also understand that man is the architect of his own destiny. It's a famous phrase. It's used quite often, and it completely applies in this case. So, in short, what is karma? Karma is used in like a lot of senses, in a lot of different ways. For example, people say that karma means activity. We are doing something, and some of the activity, that's called karma. Sometimes karma also means that when we get a reaction back, some people say that, oh, it's karma, and he's simply getting what he sowed. And sometimes karma could mean like doing karma so that I can controlled way, so that I can get some better results. So likewise, we can see that karma means different things, and it's used in different ways and different context. And in general, it is in short, it is reaction to our actions. Just like there are like government laws are there, and that we have to abide to. Um, for example, the government law says that you stop at a stop sign, you stop at a red light, and if we do not follow these laws, we are uh, we could get in trouble. There could be a reaction that's coming. We could get a ticket, etc. Similarly, there are subtle laws, and whether we are aware of them or not, they do act. And just like in case of the government laws, if somebody says that, oh, I was not aware of a particular law, he still gets a ticket. It happened to me, actually. For example, once I was driving, I made a U-turn and went back, and immediately a cop came and said that you made a U-turn within, I forgot, but 200 feet of an intersection, and that is against, and he gave me a ticket. I could not argue that, oh, I did not know that law, and therefore I should be excused. I was not excused. So similarly, there are laws of karma and they are described in our scriptures and literatures, especially the Vedic literatures and other scriptures also in different forms. Now, coming back to so we discussed a little bit about the laws of karma. Now, getting back to the cause, there are different levels of causes also. For example, let's say my voice stops coming at the other end that you are hearing. You are able to hear me right now, but all of a sudden, you let's say you find that I'm muted. For for example, if I press my mute button, you could not hear me. So that was one of the cause was that I pressed the mute button. Now, what could be the other causes? It's possible that my microphone here on there could have been some technical issues, some technical problem, and my microphone failed, and because of that, the voice stopped going. What can be the other cause? So these are some of the immediate causes, and some of the other cause could be there could be a failure in the internet on my side, or there could be a failure of internet on the your side, which is like on the viewer's side, or uh, another could be for your headphones or the speakers failed, or yet another cause could be like the larger overall Chicago land area, or the whole internet failed. And it actually happened a few days back, if we all remember, that the T-Mobile service failed throughout the whole country, and people were thinking that it's a AT&T has failed, and some of the Verizon customers were thinking Verizon is failing, but it was all because of T-Mobile failing. So similarly, the whole internet could fail. So we can see that the cause can be so many different. It could be some of the immediate causes, which are easy to diagnose, and there could be some very difficult to diagnose. There could be some distant causes, and there could be some like extremely subtle or very difficult to understand causes. And similarly, karma also has like some of the immediate causes can be are there, and just like we discussed earlier, we try to understand if a person has contacted COVID or coronavirus. We try to find out, did he travel to some other country? Was he in a particular state where there is a high occurrence of this virus? Did and so many other things. So these are some of the immediate causes that we try to understand. But there could be some other causes also, which are much more complex and complicated and difficult to understand. And it's not that we don't try, we try to understand them also. But this trying to understand from the level of karma, it is said in Bhagavad Gita that the laws of karma are very complex and difficult to understand. And this is in, okay, I don't have that verse up here, but it's in Bhagavad Gita 4.17, Gahana Karmano Gati. So the translation says, the intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So now comes to a point, this section, what should I do? Or what is it that we are supposed to do? What is my responsibility? So here we'll talk a little bit about what these are some of the points. We will look at an analogy of a patient and a doctor. What do the scriptures tell us about this, and what does it mean in terms of our responsibility in the present times. So beginning with the analogy of the patient and doctor. If a patient, let's say, is infected with some kind of a disease, what does a doctor do? I mean, there are just at a very high level, there are quite a few possibilities, but at a very high level, it's we can say divide it into two types. For example, the doctor treats the patient, or what the doctor could begin with is doctor begins with giving a lecture to the patient. You have been doing this, you have been doing that, you did that in the past, you have done this and that, and eat sugar and this and that, and because of this you are in this position. And he gives like a half an hour lecture. What do we think the patient will feel? Obviously not very good, because he hasn't come to the doctor to get a lecture on what's going on right now. His focus is to treat his disease or his current condition. So the doctor should, I mean, they should, and they do. I'm just giving an example of this lecture, but they will begin with treating the pain or the disease, and they don't start giving a discourse on what caused or what led to it, and then they give a corrective treatment to cure the disease, so that the patient gets some relief from the pain, from the disease that he might be suffering from all of this, from his ailment. Now, if we think about it, what if the doctor avoids completely talking about the cause, thinking that the patient will feel bad, like we just discussed? Then also it's not good, because it is required to look at the cause, and it is required to prevent the same condition that the patient is in future. So it is absolutely required to talk about the cause also. But if the focus is on if the focus is first on the treatment and then analyze the cause, then it will not be seen as being judgmental, or like we said, the patient will not be upset. The patient is being treated, he's being taken care of, he starts to feel some relief because of the treatment, and then the doctor brings up the cause and tries to educate or guide the patient, which is also the duty of the doctor. So coming to the next point, what do the scriptures tell us about this? Do the scriptures tell us anything about this? Now, I've been focusing mostly on the Bhagavad Gita for our discussion here. And in Bhagavad Gita, we can see that Krishna, Arjuna is also in a position where he's trying to get some answers. He is in a difficult position. He does not know whether I should fight or I should not fight, because he's in a complete dilemma, and Krishna is helping him. Now, Krishna does not focus on what brought them to that point of war. So Krishna focuses in the whole Bhagavad Gita. Krishna focuses on the next steps. What is Arjuna to do? He never brings up the cause or the events that led up to the war. He constantly and keeps on telling Arjuna that you have to do your duty. You have to fight, and he doesn't just say that you have to do this. He gives appropriate reasoning, and uh, at the same time, like Krishna is telling what to do, but also like how to do. So the how portion already covers the cause, which means like so that when when Arjuna does it in the right way, in the right conscious, then it's automatically not only he's doing the right thing, but he's also elevating himself, or Krishna is elevating Arjuna. So there are some of the there are many quotes, but I have picked a few from the Bhagavad Gita. I'll quickly read the translations of these verses. So chapter 3, text number 30, Krishna says, "Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight." So we can see here, Krishna tells Arjuna to fight and how to fight. So he tells Arjuna that surrendering all your works unto me with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit and no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy. Next verse is chapter 8, verse number 7. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me. You will attain me without doubt. Again, the same message, and the how portions are also there. Now, coming back to the earlier chapters, chapter 2, text number 38. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. And by so doing, you shall never incur sin. Now we know that Arjuna's one of the concerns for not fighting was that he will incur sin, because obviously in fighting involves killing so many people and so many other atrocious activities. But here Krishna is saying that do it as a duty without considering your happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. Next, in the same chapter, text number 31, which is chapter 2, text number 31. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. And so there is no need for hesitation. Text number 33. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. Now, here we see that Krishna is saying completely opposite of what we heard earlier. Um, Arjuna was worried that he would incur sin if he fights, but here Krishna, in very clear words, he says that if you do not fight, it means that you are neglecting your duties. And by neglecting your duties, you are going to incur sin. It's completely opposite of what Arjuna was thinking. And now the last and I mean, there are many, like I mentioned earlier, there are many verses which point towards the Bhagavad Gita, stating that Krishna is asking Arjuna to take the next steps, or what to do in the current situation. So focusing on the current situation rather than focusing on the past. So this text is 2.47, and I will share this. So this is a very famous verse in Bhagavad Gita. Karmanya evadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur ma te sango astva akarmani. So the translation is, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So the reason why this verse is very famous is the first part of the verse, which is karmanya eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, which means that the translation, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of the action. However, among this, the first portion of the verse also, the first line is the only thing which is famous, which is karmanya eva adhikaraste, which means that you have a right to perform your prescribed duty. Usually people do not like to think that you are not entitled to the fruits of your action, because we generally are attached to the fruits of our activities. So having said that, we'll go to the next point, which is responsibility. What does it mean in terms of our responsibility in the present times? I have a quote here from Stephen Covey. I'm not a product of my circumstances. I'm a product of my decisions. So this is quite significant. So for the current pandemic, it is our, I mean, we have in the current situation, current pandemic, what are we supposed to do? What should we be doing? So that's the point that we'll discuss now. Like we saw from various different examples of the analogy of the doctor and the patient, and taking the examples and learnings from our scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, it's very evident that our focus should be current. Like, yes, we are in this situation and we have to do something about it. And if, I mean, something in the sense that we cannot do anything to control the pandemic, but whatever we can control, whatever is in our control. And what is in our control? The control is to protect ourselves. And there are many guidelines that are there which state how to protect ourselves. There is this CDC guidelines are there. There are experts who are telling their doctors, and they are telling us what to do. Some of the common things we all know, like put on your mask when you are going out, when you are in public, because it's been proved that masks are helping. Listen to the experts how to contain the disease, and one of them is like maintain social distancing. And there are so many other things. um, keep yourself quarantined, try to minimize going out if you don't have to, etc., etc. We all know all of these, but the reason why I'm bringing it up is that it is our responsibility to do these things and not take them lightly, as we saw from the previous examples. Now, somebody thinking like, okay, these are material guidelines. What about spirituality? Because when we talked about Bhagavad Gita, we saw that Krishna is advising. Krishna is the spiritual master of Arjuna. So as devotees, we know the answer. Krishna was indeed Arjuna's spiritual master, but similarly, Srila Prabhupada has time and again said that um, Krishna's message is there for us also. And we are fortunate to have a disciplic succession coming from Krishna himself. So the knowledge is there. And similarly, when we follow uh, the, the guidelines and the instructions from our disciplic succession, we are following Krishna. And our disciplic succession or our leaders are saying that exact same thing: protect yourself. Please be careful about what you are doing and what you are doing. Um, there's another thing to be considered: sadhu, shastra, guru. We know that these three things have to be consulted. So we consult with a saintly person, a sadhu. We consult with the scriptures, and we consult with a guru or our spiritual master or guide. And we'll see that all three of them align in this case. So there's no question of what is supposed to be done in the immediate terms. So then again the question comes that I asked earlier in the previous slide. So should we not discuss and try to find out the cause or the root cause? How can we prevent this in future? What are we supposed to do? If we carefully analyze Krishna's instruction, like I said before, we find that he's not only asking Arjuna to focus on his current situation and fight and do his duty, but he's saying that act in a responsible manner. The instructions that Krishna give, and we looked at those examples, also include how to act. So that's the next topic that I'll discuss, because without discussing this, this whole presentation of this topic would be incomplete. So that's the next topic, which is analyze, learn, and act. And this is quite a busy slide, as you can see here. There are quite a few things that I'll be bringing it up, which and they are in this order, as you can see: industrial civilization, instant gratification, exploitation of nature, and overconsumption, industrialization of animal cruelty. Human civilization is in need of a spiritual, not necessarily a material satisfaction, and self-sufficiency based on simple living and high thinking. So we'll take these points one at a time, beginning with industrial civilization and instant gratification and exploitation of nature and overconsumption, because these three are related to each other. So industrial civilization, we know that this civilization, what we call industrial civilization, began about 150, 200 years. I don't know the exact time frame, but it's around that time. And as we know this, during this current pandemic and the way things are going, this civilization, which is the industrial civilization, is entering a very decisive phase. What do I mean by decisive phase? That it's very evident that this civilization has caused quite a lot of reactions, as we in terms of karma that we understood before. So we'll go a little bit deeper into this, and as a result of this, it could be entering into a decisive phase, which means that it could take a different turn, or a new civilization is about to come. Whatever it comes, it's always a gradual process, and it may not go there. Maybe the pandemic and the virus just subsides and we are back to doing things the way we were used to doing. Who knows? But this is based on some of the articles and some of the research that's been done, and I'm presenting this based on that. So for thousands of years, we have lived in harmony with nature, but this industrial civilization has changed all of that. And what do we mean by that? So before 150, 200 years, like, people used to live in harmony with nature, which means that they coexisted with nature. They were not trying to exploit nature for their own benefit. That's in essence means living in harmony with nature. So exploitation of nature, why does it why did it increase, or what is the cause for that? It's basically instant gratification, which is the second bullet point that we saw, and that's why I said that these are all interrelated. So we as a generation brought up into this industrial civilization, we have brought up in this consciousness that we want things now. We want to satisfy our senses like right now, faster sense gratification. And what are some of the examples? If we see from a shopping perspective, that's the classic example. What do shoppers want? When I'm shopping or when somebody's shopping, what do they want? They want to get good quality products. Whatever they're looking for, they want that particular product in a good, in a in the best quality possible. They want a wide selection of products, and at the same time, they want a low price. They don't want to. We don't want to spend much on it. And we want all of these: good quality, wide selection, low price, and all of it right now. So we can see that how this civilization has worked towards this goal. Today's classic example is this e-commerce websites, Amazon and so many others. They are actually giving they are catering to the need of this three things that I mentioned: providing good quality, providing a wide selection, and providing a low price. And we want it right now. Uh, because it's an e-commerce site, they cannot like bring it right now, but we can see that all of them are working towards it. Shipping next day was unheard of, but now we can buy today and it will come tomorrow. And pretty soon, I wouldn't be surprised if we buy today and it comes today itself, or maybe right now. So instant gratification. Instant gratification, these are two words: instant and gratification. So let's dissect this and understand what is gratification. Gratification is an emotional need. It's not a physical need. For example, when I see an advertisement, a marketing proposition for a new phone, I suddenly want it. I mean, it's presented in such a way that I want it, and I want it now. But if we carefully analyze it, gratification means enjoyment, or it's a feeling of enjoyment is in anticipation. So gratification is in anticipation. A classic example is vacation. When we book our vacation, we are in anticipating that vacation, and that gives us enjoyment until we come to the point of vacation. And then we go on a vacation, and it might, who knows, something goes wrong, then the vacation is completely spoiled, or even if it's good, it stays until the vacation is over. And we usually say after coming back from vacation, I need a vacation from a vacation, which means that uh, we are tired and exhausted from the vacation, and that gratification period is over. Actually, there was an experiment done also by the food industry. The same food, the same texture, the same taste was served in a fast food restaurant, and the same food was served in a like a sit-in joint in a gourmet style with a good presentation and everything. And then the level of gratification was measured, and the level of gratification in the second case was higher, even though it was the same food, exact same preparation, same place it was prepared, same texture, everything. Yet the gratification in the second case is higher because of the presentation and the service we get and all of that. And we all know that's true. I mean, at the temple, we can see our bake sale team also trying to take advantage of some of those uh, things, but in a Krishna conscious way, trying to serve Krishna. Don't get me wrong. So that covers those topics. Now coming to the two topics, the third one is exploitation of nature and overconsumption. So I have statistics I found. I have a reference. If somebody wants the reference, let me know, and I can provide the reference. But it says that roughly 1.3 billion tons of food is wasted globally, and that accounts for roughly 1/3 of the food that's produced. Now that's in global terms, and in the developed countries, it is even higher, which means that in the developed countries, nearly between 40 and 50% of the food is wasted. So that's a lot of wastage, lot, 1.3 billion tons of food. So we can see that this is clearly an example of exploitation. Now, I have taken the example of this food here, but it can be applied to anything and everything. I mean, earlier I talked about the use and throw. So use and throw of other things, television, refrigerator, and you name it. All of that means the same thing, overconsumption. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse number 70, it says, I'm looking if I have it on the screen. No, I don't. So I'll read the translation. 2.70, a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. Very clear. Krishna is saying, do not overconsume, do not try to exploit, be satisfied. And text number 2.72, which is the last verse in the second chapter, that is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So this is really striking. It not only helps us materially enjoy, but at the same time, according to this instruction, what Krishna is saying, that it also helps us in our spiritual life. That's wonderful. Now coming to the next set of points: industrialization of animal cruelty, human civilization in need for a spiritual satisfaction, etc. So we know that this coronavirus, is blamed. There's been enough research done, and this virus is blamed on the Wuhan wet market, the market which sells exotic animals, wild animals specifically. And not just this virus, but all the previous pandemics, you name it, all of them had their origin in cruelty to animals. Cruelty has always, so we know that cruelty has always existed, like throughout the history. But the degree of industrialization in modern times is like unprecedented. In similar terms, animals have always been killed for food, entertainment, fur, tusks, jewelry, etc. But the mechanized and the industrial slaughterhouses is a modern invention. It's part of this industrial civilization. There is a book by Dr. Michael Greger. The book is titled "How to Survive a Pandemic." So Dr. Michael Greger, he's a scientist and a physician, and he warns in that book that an apocalyptic virus emanating from overcrowded and unsanitary chicken farms has the potential to wipe out the half of the humanity. So here we can, I mean, we it does not need any explanation. We know that the how much the industry has automated, or I think the word that I was using was um, industrialized or mechanized. Yes, mechanized was the word I was looking at. So mechanized killing. So earlier also there was killing, but it was, I mean, a person wants to, for example, use animal for their fur or coat, for jewelry, for entertainment, or for meat. They would let the animal die, or even if not die, they would bring the animal, kill it. But there was this, when we mechanize it and when we go through the slaughterhouses, we are like, it's an unnatural process. And as we can see from some of the pictures I have, these are completely unhealthy or totally unnatural situations in which the animals are kept and bred. So to to conclude here, what we discussed was that we discussed talking about the cause and effect and of this virus, and then I discussed about the laws of karma, how to understand the laws of karma in relationship with this pandemic. We looked at some of the examples of different how karma works, how there is an immediate cause, how there is a distant cause, and there is like even a distant and a subtle cause, with the example of this the voice not coming at your end, etc. And then we questioned like what should I do, what is our responsibility. And then we talked about the patient and the doctor, or the doctor and the patient analogy. And we concluded that we should take care of the situation in its current context, and what should be done. uh, what should be done in the sense like what is our duty, what is our responsibility, which is to follow the guidelines, to follow the advice that is being given by the researchers and the experts, etc. Then we talked about the scriptures, like what the scriptures tell us about this. We talked about many different verses from the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is telling Arjuna to focus, or on and in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, to focus on his fighting and his immediate need there, immediate action that is required of him. Then we talked about responsibility. What is our responsibility in terms of this pandemic situation? Like do put on your masks, listen to the experts, maintain social distancing, follow the guidelines, etc., etc. We have seen that nobody is spared through this virus. Nobody. We have practical examples of them. And then finally, we talked about the industrial civilization, how this civilization has contributed to this particular pandemic, and the cause. And these are, again, there are multiple causes. There are some immediate causes, there are some distant causes, and then there are some such far off causes which require like lot of understanding and research and trying to go deeper into the subject matter. We talked about overconsumption, which is like basically exploiting the nature. We are supposed to live in harmony with the nature, and we are as a result of this industrial civilization, we are completely doing the opposite. So obviously there is, suppose we can expect reactions in different forms. And then finally we talked about the industrialization of animal cruelty. So which we like talked about the origin of this virus being the wet market in Wuhan in China, and how these like selling exotic wild animals has led to this, and not only in this pandemic but even in the past pandemics also. SARS and some other, I don't remember the names, but they were all related or came from the animals. So having discussed this, the final conclusion, we talked in the Bhagavad Gita also, that we as a civilization, there's a great need for a spiritual satisfaction rather than a material satisfaction. We have tried the material satisfaction in so many ways, and we have seen the results. So hope we learn from this and how we can apply these teachings in our daily lives, not just understand the root cause and analyze, but learn and act. That is really important. So ultimately, that Srila Prabhupada has taught us, and he repeatedly said he focused on simple living, high thinking. I think it's high time for us to actually practice that. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak on this subject matter. I was inspired to talk about it because of this current situation. There is just a few minutes left, so I will invite discussions or questions. And here I have my email address also on the screen. If anybody wants to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on this email address, pratibahudas@gmail.com.
Thank you, Prabhu, for your wonderful talk today. Anybody wants to have a question, comments?
So Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Ashish. I've sent one question on chat, but I can ask as well. So first of all, very nice class. Lot of concepts and topics covered. The question was that karma is independent and collective both at the same time, right?
The question is, karma is independent and collective at the same time. So from what? Yes, go ahead.
When I say independent, it means independent for an individual and collective for the society.
Yes. So from what I understand, yes, it is both, and a mix of both also. And it is very evident and very clear from this situation. I mean, this industrial civilization that we talked about, it's not an individual thing. Yet at the individual is also involved, but it is also a collective thing. So we understand that it's a collective karma, and what is coming at us is the collective karma. There are so many examples also. The collective karma can be discussed. One of the example that comes to my mind is, for example, an accident of an airplane or a train accident in which like hundreds of people die at the same time. I mean, they have all different lives. They are coming from different streams of lives and all, different karma, but yet they are suffering the exact same things. So obviously it means that it's a collective karma. They were meant to go through that. So similarly, right now, this situation is global. In the past, I was going to cover this subject also, but I ran out of time. But the past pandemics have been localized. They have not, like today, this particular pandemic is global in nature. However, in the past, we have seen that they have been confined to a particular region, a particular state, and at most particular to a country, but never seen this to this extent of like global. So obviously, this karma is like it's a global karma. knowingly or unknowingly, we are participating in this and we are getting the results. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, it answered. In that same question, I had also said that people who actually opened those slaughterhouses are making money, but people who did not have anything to do with those slaughterhouses are also suffering.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I think it covers your first answer itself covers it. It's the collective karma.
So I cannot, I'm unable to quote, but in Srimad Bhagavatam, and it could be in the purport or there's a direct verse, but it's mentioned that when an animal is killed or when we eat meat, specifically in a industrialized or mechanical way, like we discussed, there are 6 different parties or people involved in it are equally sharing the karma. The person who is involved in like killing of the animal, the person who processes that, the person who transports that, when I say person, it could mean like an entity of people or an organization. However, the person or the entity responsible in shelving the products in a store, the person buying them, and the person who is cooking. So we can see the whole supply chain is involved, directly or indirectly. Now, some of them in the middle, they may not be meat eaters, yet they are implicated. So similarly, we are implicated. And like I discussed in the 4.17, chapter 4:17, Krishna says that this karma is very difficult to understand, and their workings is extremely difficult. So that, I think, answers your question. We may not be directly involved in them, yet we are suffering because we could be indirectly involved.
Yes, it does, Prabhu. I mean, even we not saying anything for all that is also kind of participating in that, in a sense.
Yes. And Srila Prabhupada told us that the best way is education at the root level. When we educate and when we preach, we are acting in the right direction, in the right consciousness.
Thank you, Prabhu.
I also heard that even working for those companies indirectly is also getting that karma.
Yeah.
Working for McDonald's, for example, is to say, so we are obliged no matter what.
Yeah, we are forced in
to
a way.
do. Anyone else wants to make a comment, question? Let me check in YouTube, Prabhu. I don't see anything in YouTube. Okay. Yep.
Thank
you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.